What I think I want to do is get to the root cause so you can get a better outcome. So the idea is to cure cancer. Is there such a thing? You may ask. Well, I do believe so.
He's long believed that this cell, properly functioning and activated, can kill cancer. The problem is, most common treatments in use today, chemotherapy, radiation, they might destroy cancer cells, but they come with a terrible cost. They also wipe out much of the immune system's army.
Everything we've been doing, advertently or inadvertently, is killing the natural killer cell as we try to treat you. Think about that logic. Everything, from radiation to chemotherapy, has been inducing the destruction of the natural killer cell. So if you go to what you call first principles, the only thing that you need to protect in your body is your natural killer cell. And if you protect that, that's what actually not only prevents cancer, but treats cancer and maybe cures cancer.
Came up with Anktiva, an immunotherapy drug he claims has the potential to target all forms of cancer.
Anktiva, what does the drug do in the For Dummies version?
The natural killer cell all have on their surface a receptor that's looking for a protein that your body makes called IL-15, interleukin-15. The most important molecule is IL-15. Anktiva is that IL-15. It is the switch that actually binds to the NK cell and activates and proliferates them and make them supercharged.
In other words, when the natural killer cell is treated with IL-15, amazing things happen. The cell becomes stronger, more durable, and it multiplies faster, turning a normal soldier into the equivalent of the Incredible Hulk, powerful enough to take on those cancer cells and kill them. Take a look at this time-lapse video of a supercharged NK cell in action.
So the green is a regular breast cell.
Correct.
The red is a breast cancer cell.
Correct.
And the gray
is a natural killer cell. So the natural killer cell has the capacity to identify cancer cells, infected cells, abnormal cells, and selectively kill it. This gray natural killer cell is hunting it down on the left, identifying it as an abnormal cell, and killing it from the outside in, let it explode.
Watch again closely. This is the potential game changer. The first responder NK cell killing cancer right before your eyes.
If you give yourself Anktiva, even in healthy volunteers, it drives up your first responders. It drives up your protectors, and that's why I said the power is within us. We truly have a chance to change the paradigm.
But it's a long road from the whiteboard to the lab to the cancer clinic, where real patients get real results. To get there, you need to go through here, the FDA. And that's where this medical genius ran into a problem he couldn't solve. Shang believes he's found that option. His drug, Anktiva, and its accompanying protocol he calls BioShield. The proof, he says, is plain to see. Take a look at these before and after brain scans.
Again, this patient had a brain tumor. Now, the brain tumor, the patient had radiation, chemo, and surgery. So we've taken patients who failed all chemotherapy, failed everything, and gotten this kind of response.
Very impressive as a visual representation.
There's no chemo in this treatment, no radiation in this treatment, and the tumor is now really reducing in months.
Spend any time in Dr. Soon Shang's clinic and you'll see there's no shortage of patients willing to attest to similarly wondrous results.
I'm extremely healthy, probably too healthy for my age. All of this is because of this treatment.
This was my tumor to start with, and then with all the treatments, it's now almost gone.
The success for me was 100%, and I've been in remission now 5 years.
It was Dr. Soon Shang's reputation for getting results like this that prompted a fateful phone call back in 2015. That's when then Vice President Biden's son, Beau, was fighting brain cancer.
So he had brain tumor.
And his family believes it was from the fires in Iraq, the garbage fires, when he was serving over there.
And I disagreed with the treatment that he was about to get, and I got a call in from Vice President Biden, and can I come to Washington?
When you were asked to come in and consult for Beau Biden, it was already too late in the process.
Yes.
In this moment of deep grief, Soon Shang claims he handed President Biden a folder about an initiative that he'd brainstormed called Cancer Moonshot. The idea was to get the federal government to fund a project that would be truly revolutionary, finding a cure that would make chemo and radiation a thing of the past. Of course, Dr. Soon Shang expected Anktiva, still an experimental drug at the time, to be a big part of that moonshot.
And the vice president at that time, he wanted you to spearhead that. And how hopeful were you at that time?
I was elated because here was an opportunity with a man that actually, at this level of seniority and power in the government, that could spur the collaboration for a common cause, for the common good.
He says he recruited several big pharma companies and academic centers to participate, only to be blindsided by the administration. With no explanation, he was suddenly excluded.
The day after we announced it, at the Congress, State of the Union, President Obama turns to Vice President Biden and says he's now have a second moonshot.
You know, last year, Vice President Biden said that with a new moonshot, America can cure cancer. So tonight I'm announcing a new national effort to get it done.
And that was the moonshot that all the big pharma and all the major academic centers went along with. I think they got $5 billion of funding, and I'm not sure if anything came from it.
Why do you think it went nowhere if they had all those people on board and time and money?
If they had went anywhere, there was incremental change of looking at another chemo, looking at another chemo combination, another checkpoint, etc. There was not transformational change or paradigm change that we wanted to happen.
What he's saying is that entrenched interests did not really want to embrace a new approach that threatened to make our existing treatments obsolete.
I know I'm on an uphill battle against many forces. Political forces, marketing forces of Big Pharma, making tons of money. Even marketing forces of the large National Cancer Institute cancer centers, whose profit and their bonuses to the doctors are based on the chemo they get. Imagine if I make you healthy. I should get a bonus for that rather than keeping you sick. Today, it's the reverse. I get paid more by keeping you sick.
Dr. Soon Shong would spend years fighting that battle, and soon the stakes would get even higher. When the COVID virus hit,
government leaders tell us these tighter restrictions are necessary with this invisible, deadly threat.
Suddenly, everyone started talking about the immune system, and then started worrying that the vaccine might have some unintended consequences.
Now we may have something that has replicated itself and grown and changed in a way that could be causing cancer.
Correct.
That's next.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
April 2024. After years of anticipation,
We acknowledge receipt, thank you.
the Food and Drug Administration finally gives the green light to Anktiva, the pioneering immunotherapy Dr. Patrick Soon Shong has been developing for more than a decade.
We have a license number. Woo! Activated natural killer cell for life.
The vision is transformative. Harvest NK cells from patients everywhere, or people even without cancer, like me.
This farm's going to fall off. You got it? Sir, I'm just joking.
Then, if and when they're needed, treat them with Anktiva to supercharge them, freeze them in units like this, and ultimately freeze out chemotherapy.
What is this?
This is cryopreserving your natural killer cells. So all the vials of natural killer cells that we take out, and we then modify the natural killer cell that targets a tumor, is frozen, taken upstairs to the clinic, thawed, infused in 30 minutes, and that's the treatment.
What is expected by the patient in terms of side effects?
You come in here, this is an outpatient, you get an infusion, and you'll get a little bit tired because of the proliferation of these NK cells and a red flare. That's it.
Dr. Soon Shong wants this in every cancer clinic, treating every type of cancer. And he thinks that's a reasonable goal, since other common drugs have been approved to treat other types of blood cell deficiency, regardless of the specific cause.
These two drugs have been approved for decades, for all cancers. We should have this approved for all cancers.
But the FDA had other thoughts.
Our drug is approved, believe it or not, just for a tiny piece of a subset of bladder cancer.
That's right. As of today, Anktiva is not available for patients with every other type of cancer. Breast, lung, brain, you name it. For that to happen, the FDA says it needs more trials, more data, more proof of safety and effectiveness, and more time. Lots of time.
I've got patients 10 years, and you want me to do a randomized trial that will take another 5 years? And response, I don't care. I almost fell off my chair.
Why aren't results like this, as obvious as they present, enough? Like, why is it that the clinicians or the FDA or whatever the standard is not impressed by this?
I think we stuck in the old assumptions. We stuck in the check the box, and we stuck in show me chemotherapy. Do a randomized trial against chemotherapy, knowing what the results of chemotherapy are. They don't recognize that this is a ubiquitous treatment of your immune system. You shouldn't ask what cancer is that. That's what we're trying to get the FDA to understand.
Everybody's affected by cancer. None is untouched by it. We were reminded of that this weekend in larger fashion when the granddaughter of John F. Kennedy and Jackie O, which means it's the daughter of one of their two kids, Caroline, the surviving child, her 35-year-old, just 35, Tatiana Schlossberg, revealed she'd been diagnosed with a rare terminal cancer of the blood and bone marrow, has less than a year to live. And it just puts into focus what we already know. With all the advances, is this really the best we can do with something that kills so many? I honestly believe the answer to that question is no. And part of the reason I believe that you're going to learn tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I get why this has been blowing up in terms of interest, okay? Look, News Nation and certainly Chris Cuomo are not about selling snake oil and some easy thing. Here, just drink this. And it's none of that, okay? It's complicated, it's involved, and we're sitting down with a legit genius, okay? A doctor who believes he knows what will kill cancer, all cancers, okay? So his name is Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong. You Google him, you're going to find a million things, okay? He is a multi-billionaire, but he also owns the LA Times. He owns part of the LA Lakers. He's creating all different kinds of technologies, from Hollywood to warfare. He literally just delivered me a couple of improved turnout coats for firefighters that I just dropped off at my chief's office before the show tonight. That's how applied he is. Now, he has a protocol that he has been using that has worked, he says, and so do his patients, for about 1,000 people who participated in clinical trials. Here's a little bit of what we're trying to get across tomorrow night.
Take a look at these before and after brain scans.
Again, this patient had a brain tumor. Now, the brain tumor, the patient had radiation, chemo, and surgery. So we've taken patients who failed all chemotherapy, failed everything, and gotten this kind of response.
Very impressive as a visual representation.
There's no chemo in this treatment, no radiation in this treatment, and the tumor is now really reducing in months.
Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong joins me now. Dr. Pat, first, happy Thanksgiving for you and your family. I'm thankful to have met you and gotten to know you a little bit, and thank you very much for the turnout coats that I gave to my chief, and I'll let you know what he says about them as soon as I can. But what do you hope comes from the special?
I think awareness, Chris. I think, by the way, thank you for having me on the night before. The whole issue here is it's sort of hidden in plain sight, or what I call a blind spot. Just to be clear, and I want to make it very, very clear to the audience, this is not a magic bullet. This is not a one shot. What we're doing is creating a whole new process where we actually use the old chemotherapy, use some of the old radiation, but in a very different way, in low doses, so that we can smoke out the tumor, so that then your immune system can go and attack. And in that sense, you needed to activate the immune system. So the paradigm change here is having your body's own immune system attack the cancer, rather than destroying the immune system inadvertently with high-dose chemo or radiation.
So the big pushback will be, wow, if this is so good and you believe so strongly, do what the FDA says and go through all their hoops, and then you'll be able to prove it to their satisfaction and you'll get approved for all the things that you want. Why isn't it that simple for you?
Because the FDA has already approved it. It's taken us 10 years of clinical trials in multiple tumor types. And what the FDA has already approved is the mechanism, which is really important. In the package insert, the label, it says, this molecule called IL-15, which is now approved, when it binds to your natural killer cell and your T cell, it expands them without expanding the suppressor regulatory T cells. That is approved, affirmed by the FDA. What is not clearly and mystifying to me, if that is the case, that mechanism of protecting the immune system is irrelevant to the tumor type that you have. So to give you an example, if you have anemia today, independent of any cancer, you get a drug called Epogen. You don't say, go do Epogen trial in every tumor type, which will take 10 lifetimes. You say, this is the treatment for red blood cells. Well, for the first time, in the history of medicine, there's never been a treatment for activating your killer cells. That is the point. There's never been a treatment to activate your killer cells, which are the most important cells in your body to kill cancer. We've now done the trials in pancreatic cancer, done the trial in triple-negative breast cancer, we've done the trial in lung cancer, we've done the trials in 10 multiple tumor types, and it's approved for bladder cancer. But as you have reported, we have thousands of patients, desperate patients, with no time left in their lives, wanting to have the immune system restored, and I have to go through one patient at a time.
I know you have to make some very tough choices. Is there an accommodation? Is there a middle ground that the FDA could offer that you would take? And is there any sign of progress with government approval? Because otherwise, you're going to be making choices for the rest of your life because you'll never have the scale that you need.
I was most encouraged by an article just put out last week by the Commissioner, Marty Makary and Vinay Prasad, that talks about a pathway based on plausible mechanism of action. Plausible mechanism of action. Well, the maximum action is not just plausible, it's reaffirmed by the FDA. And that if such a plausible maximum action has a different outcome with evidence of safety, which it has because we've done over thousands of these doses in multiple tumor types, then the pathway is an accelerated approval with confirmatory either real-world evidence or confirmatory randomized trials. But that allows then patients in this country who are dying to have access, and doctors who are then aware of this to have access across this nation.
Yeah, that I think is the key part, and I hope that people get that. Miguel and I, Miguel's done a beautiful job with this, Miguel Sancho, the producer, but the one question I'm left with at the end of it, and I know the administration pays attention to what we do at News Nation, and I know they're going to pay attention to this especially, is why not at a minimum let people who've tried everything else, let them make their own choice about what they want to put into their body and give themselves a possibility, if not a probability. Dr. Pat, this is just the beginning of the conversation. I appreciate you being here tonight. We'll let the special fly tomorrow night, and then we'll continue the conversation. You are always welcome here.
Thank you so
very
much. Okay, bye, Chris.
All right. Killing Cancer premieres tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on News Nation. And you can Google him for yourself. Dr. Patrick Soon, like not late, dash Shong, S-H-I-O-N-G. You'll see.
Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong believes he's found that option. His drug, Anktiva, and its accompanying protocol he calls BioShield.
How do you balance the optimism of what you believe you can do with the risk of giving people false hope that this is going to be different than everything else?
I think that's why we started this in 2015, 16, 17. We were asked and got the FDA approval to treat patients who had failed everything. And we treated them, and they got complete remissions. And it wasn't sort of a one-off fluke or an anecdote.
The proof, he says, is plain to see. Take a look at these before and after brain scans.
Again, this patient had a brain tumor. Now, the brain tumor, the patient had radiation, chemo, and surgery. So we've taken patients who failed all chemotherapy, failed everything, and gotten this kind of response.
Very impressive as a visual representation.
There's no chemo in this treatment, no radiation in this treatment, and the tumor is now really reducing in months.
Spend any time in Dr. Soon-Shiong's clinic and you'll see there's no shortage of patients willing to attest to similarly wondrous results.
I'm extremely healthy, probably too healthy for my age. All of this is because of this treatment.
This was my tumor to start with, and then with all the treatments, it's now almost gone.
The success for me was 100%, and I've been in remission now 5 years.
It was Dr. Soon-Shiong's reputation for getting results like this that prompted a fateful phone call back in 2015. That's when then Vice President Biden's son, Beau, was fighting brain cancer.
So he had brain tumor.
And his family believes it was from the fires in Iraq, the garbage fires, when he was serving over there.
And I disagreed with the treatment that he was about to get, and I got a call in from Vice President Biden, and can I come to Washington?
When you were asked to come in and consult for Beau Biden, it was already too late in the process.
Yes.
In this moment of deep grief, Soon-Shiong claims he handed President Biden a folder about an initiative that he'd brainstormed called Cancer Moonshot. The idea was to get the federal government to fund a project that would be truly revolutionary, finding a cure that would make chemo and radiation a thing of the past. Of course, Dr. Soon-Shiong expected Anktiva, still an experimental drug at the time, to be a big part of that moonshot.
And the vice president at that time, he wanted you to spearhead that. And how hopeful were you at that time?
I was elated because here was an opportunity with a man that actually, at this level of seniority and power in the government, that could spur the collaboration for a common cause for the common good.
He says he recruited several big pharma companies and academic centers to participate, only to be blindsided by the administration. With no explanation, he was suddenly excluded.
The day after we announced it, at the Congress, State of the Union, President Obama turns to Vice President Biden and says he's now have a second moonshot.
Now, last year, Vice President Biden said that with a new moonshot, America can cure cancer. So tonight I'm announcing a new national effort to get it done.
And that was the moonshot that all the big pharma and all the major academic centers went along with. I think they got $5 billion of funding, and I'm not sure if anything came from it.
My name is Sergeant Retired Mike Ruth. I'm a veteran of the Canadian Airborne Regiment, the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, and the Canadian Rangers. I've proudly served our country on tours within Afghanistan, Somalia, and Bosnia. Today I now serve to honor the legacy of my fallen brothers in arms and the rights and freedoms of all Canadians in yet another tour of duty called the Rude Awakening Tour. I am privileged to have many fellow Canadians just like you, fighting for our future and our true North strong and free. I was poisoned by the Canadian military, as were many other of our soldiers and non-combat members of our military. During my deployments, I myself and thousands of other soldiers were issued and forced to take an anti-malarial drug called mefloquine. Mefloquine is a proven neurotoxin that is responsible for causing horrific and permanent brain damage, brain irregularities, resulting in severe psychological and physical issues within those who were forced to take the drug or face dismissal and discharge. Symptoms of mefloquine poisoning include the presence of suicidal ideation, something that I suffer from almost daily, violent tendencies, extreme nightmares, highly graphic night terrors, insomnia, a big part of my problem, and that's why, anyways, insomnia is very hard for me. Depression, anxiety, GERDs, and more. With and without the effects of combat-related PTSD, mefloquine has caused life to be a living hell for people like myself. The trend in veteran-related suicides has risen sharply within those who were exposed to this drug. It is not an exaggeration to state that with respect to our recent military, mefloquine has caused the deaths of more veterans by suicide than by combat or hostile enemies. I now ask each and every one of you to join me in the Rude Awakening and to deploy in a very important reconnaissance mission to preserve our eroding freedoms and the health of Canadians. There is a very good reason that a great number of our military members do not trust untried or untrialed experimental pharmaceuticals more so than even those within the civilian population. Just watch W5's Guinea Pig Soldiers, which I was a part of. Despite pharmaceutical companies, government health agencies, and family doctors proclaiming many drugs to be safe and effective, they are not. And that's the way mefloquine was. Please recall that these same once trusted authorities also deemed thalidomide, Vioxx, and hundreds of other approved yet very harmful drugs to be safe and effective. The emerging statistics and epidemiological studies of the devastating and dangerous effects of highly promoted, experimental, and untrialed injections of DNA-altering vaccines are now upon us. Millions of Canadians were forcefully coerced into becoming trusting lab rats and guinea pigs by political figures, by media members who were simply not qualified to do so. The options of naturopathic and holistic medicines present a much healthier and harm-free choice to all of us without harmful side effects or horror stories like mefloquine gives. As a professional observer with capable experience in threat assessment and the skill set to rapidly determine friend or foe, I have yet to witness anyone ever experience personal harm due to holistic, naturoceuticals or homeopathic medicines. However, we cannot say the same for many pharmaceuticals, from opioids to Ozempic, can we? Right? Many of our soldiers have been hooked on opioids thanks to many doctors, right? And then can't get off it or end up committing suicide, right? Okay, I became aware that the natural antibodies within the eggs of certain healthy ostriches with herd immunity were an effective treatment and a preventive medication against COVID, SARS, Omicron, Sonoma, and other viral variants. I was most impressed and I'm most optimistic for our future as I came to learn that these same antibodies found within healthy ostriches were also a risk-free anti-malarial option. I became emotionally overwhelmed as to why our government has not opted to pursue them as a truly safe and effective alternative, right? An alternative to what is sadly proven to be the lethal, catastrophic, and reckless consequences of methadone. As a veteran of several wars, I can state that all of us are now potential casualties within the war. Between billion-dollar big pharma corporations and the healthier alternatives of natural medicine, war is most often the setting for crimes against humanity, and we are clearly witnessing that today. Let us be most mindful that governments have actually killed more humans than any terrorist organization or criminal or known criminal entity ever has. Not one Canadian soldier, including myself, ever put on a uniform, served, or sacrificed their life and their limbs in order for any domestic authority or any foreign agency to tyrannically dictate the terms of our nation's freedoms, including our health and our wealth and our wellness choices. In times where foreign interference has become a matter of national security concerns, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has repeatedly acted in a most treacherous way while under the foreign influences of the World Organization of Animal Health, which is actually based outside of Canada. The CFIA has been allowed to operate with impunity, a lack of transparency, right? That's why they unplug cameras and stuff, right? And an absence of accountability, right? Their insidious modus operandi functions under the false pretenses of providing safety, based upon mere suspicion, have resulted in the needless deaths of healthy animals and family farms. Where's our food security? Does that factor in at all? I don't think so, right? And it is no coincidence that the German phrase, which I cannot say, für ihr Sicherheit, whatever, in English, for your safety, was fearfully promoted as a reason for ushering trusting people onto trains at a certain time in our history. CFIA death squads are now digging burial pits as obliging police look on, just following orders, right? Some historical similarities are far too real. Some harsh lessons appear to have escaped our remembrance. Very shortly, we will commemorate the sacrifices of those who once went overseas to fight against fascists and foreign tyrants. Fascism, by definition, is the system of government whereby the means of production may be owned by individuals, but is most often rigidly and arbitrarily controlled by the government. For those of us with eyes to see, fascism is clearly upon us right now, right here in Canada and right here in Edgewood, hiding in plain sight. It is time to pick a side, to preserve the honor of our ancestors who picked a side, and those who fought for our freedoms, or to stand idly watching foreign regulated government agents literally breaking the laws of our criminal code as they attempt to steal our hard-fought freedoms and our future to the benefit of others, right? And just to add, right, with my recent experience with the Legion here in Edgewood, right? But there's nothing more controversial than truth. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at war. It is a war that is like no other before this time in our history. The tactics of our adversaries and their treacherous enablers are much like carbon monoxide. Many do not see or sense them until it is far too late. It has been said that everyone wants to be a patriot until it is time to do something patriotic. The very men you gather to honor under the roofs of legions coming up and before our nation's cenotaphs and memorials are the very men who fought against the regime that made its citizens show their papers, often under the influences of fear, sponsored media, and government propaganda. That same regime also engaged in medical experiments upon its citizens. Sadly, and more recently, many branches of the Royal Canadian Legion made citizens show their papers to enter, merely to prove that they had participated in a medical experiment. This is shameful and often unspoken historical reality, one that was truly disrespectful of the very reasons for our ancestors' service, their remembrance, and the true symbolism of the poppy. Those who fail to stand for something will often fall for anything. As a gesture of true patriot love and genuine respect for our fallen, I now most literally ask those of you here today to rise up from your seats, right? And to show your support and to demonstrate the moral courage that is now required of you and every Canadian to rise up across our land and to stand on guard for thee. Thank you for your support. Love you all. Take care and thank you for your time.